Bueno, para nosotros es una gran oportunidad.
This is a great opportunity for us as a museum to show you Museum Plus School. This is a very important project because it has allowed us to expand and open our doors, the doors of the museum, to other places and other communities. This is a sketch of the facade of the museum. This is in front of the Cali River, and this is some of the questions that actually motivated us to start going out of the museum. What do you understand by territory? How can we contribute to social transformation? Are we going to stay in the museums, museum rooms and museum offices? So as a museum, we started to get out, and we still believe that the classrooms, public school classrooms or official school classrooms, are those places in order to work as a museum. So we reached the first version of Museum Plus School version. It's a beta version. It's a very intuitive version in which we work with three components. The first one is a reflection component, the second component is creation, and the third one is experience, which has to do with the visits, the school visits we carry out. We concentrate a lot on this reflection element with seminars, workshops with teachers, school teachers. These are art history seminars. Also, because of the needs they told us, so they could they expressed that they wanted to have different tools for working in the classroom. So we worked in seminars and art and technology classrooms and seminars on the history of art. And we also worked on the creation component, in which we designed two didactic rooms. The first didactic room is obviously in the museum, and the second one is called the workshop room, which was designed similar to the Rembrandt exhibition that we had at that point in the museum, and it was seeking to get the visitors and the participants to get closer to the idea of stencil and light, and the second room was in about the cities, and start imagining what our city, the city we had, and how we would imagine the future city. So for the second version of Museum Plus School the project, which was carried out this year, 2017, we had different challenges that were actually asking us to take more risks, and they have to do with the needs that the teachers were actually expressing, or the educational community in general were expressing. So we decided to go to the territory itself, and so we started working with in the classrooms, thinking about them as new territories, as labs for asking questions and for creating. And in that way, we started collaborating with the students and the teachers. Obviously, not affecting the hierarchies that are established in the classroom. For this, we worked with 10 schools, 10 public institutions in the city of Cali, and we planned this roadmap for the year 2017. The project's still being executed. Some of the experiences have already ended, but some others are still ongoing. We thought about these teacher seminars. We had 4 sessions with the teachers, and the school visits are still fundamental for the museum, and they are part of the experience of getting closer to art, and from the school itself. The creation labs, which had for which we did 6 sessions in each school. The school shows or showcases in each one of the schools. The idea was basically to design an exhibition of the work they created, and finally a didactic room, which has been called Playing the Museum. That's didactic. That didactic room is similar to the ones I showed previously. I am going to tell you specifically about some specific points in that path we worked on with teachers. In these seminars, this is the seminar with the teachers. We worked on 4 fundamental areas in the museum, which are collection, mediation, museography, and curator related items. We thought this is a creation and research activity also, and the idea is to be able to narrate that universe that the teachers and students we're going to explore. And obviously this related specifically to their own school and the relationship between their schools and the communities that are attending those schools. So the idea of this curatorship was to transmit the opportunity to allow them to work really with this, and the collection was a heritage or patrimony, which is something that joins schools with the museum. I'm going to tell you about 3 cases with the labs, the creation labs. This is another part of, and this is what's carried out of the Marisa Sinisterra school. We had artists who led this process, and this first case had some radio and sound explorations. So there was interviews or just sessions where they just listened to the sounds of the environment, and that made us find the book which we found, which is shown on the right. This is a book that actually compiles the stories and the history of this territory. It was a leader, one of the community leaders, had this book, and this became a very important piece or object, so that teachers and students actually understood the history of their community. That became a conservation piece. The second project was coordinated by Laura Puerta in the Evaristo Garcia institution, the school. This school is actually, it has a lot of unfinished projects. Walls that were never finished, there's some vertical gardens that dried and died, and they become like ruins, and that's part of the story. So we proposed a script, a museographic script, and we worked as curators but also as designers, and they designed that script, and they have planned a night, an evening, where the school becomes a museum, and where they take relatives, families and people from the neighborhood, showing those unfinished projects. Those things like at the top on the right, that's a chairs and desks cemetery, which is one of the classic characteristics of schools in Colombia. And this was the last lab, creation lab, and that was at the departmental school. And what they did is they concentrated at the food market in the city. And what we did is basically a link between personal heritage or patrimony and city patrimony or heritage. So with the kids basically went talking to the vendors, the market, and they proposed an intervention, which is an ephemeral exhibition where they linked part of their own patrimony or heritage with the space, with the place itself. So what they did is they actually went and took sort of some small projects, small pieces they made themselves, and with toys that were extremely important for their lives. So they basically placed them on at the different places in the market, the full market. Obviously showing the relationship between them and the museum. On the right you can see a toy which is a monkey. So they just placed it there. And this is the didactic room, which is playing at the museum, where we're going to have all these different projects on the 18th of November this year. Actually, I would like it to be a couple of months, but it's now actually. And here we're going to be showing the different projects that I talked about, and they were going to be exhibited here. And the room will be like a museum, trying to be a museum. So that was the Museum Plus School. This is a project that has been funded by Bancolombia. And thank you.